What did you know of the conflict in the Middle East before being sent there?
Well, I think it was one of those things where you saw the world changing slowly. It started with the fall of the Berlin Wall. It started with the end of the Cold War. So I'm an officer in the Army Reserve, and the Cold War ended, and so our initial reaction was great. The biggest threats to America are now gone, right? But that was quickly replaced with the realization that America's role and the military's role moving forward was going to was still going to be vital, but it was very different. So we went from being worried about the Russians invading Western Europe and consequently, the Western Hemisphere. We went from that fear to the fear of America having to be the global cop of the world, and sending forces to places like Haiti and places like there was in 1983 there was the invasion of Grenada, which that was a military action that kind of woke me. Kind of everybody had it in the back of their minds. I think it was in 1983. And everybody sort of had that in the back of their minds that, boy, we could be sent to a small conflict somewhere and it could be just as dangerous as a world war. So there was a invasion in Panama that took place. I think that was in 1990. And it started to look like things were happening in Saudi Arabia and Iraq and Kuwait when Saddam Hussein annexed Kuwait essentially, and decided that he had ancient claims on that country. And it essentially, when we look back, it was basically all about oil. It was about America's interest in oil and our dependency on that, and the importance of Saudi Arabia, the importance of Kuwait to us. And it was partially about sort of halting the expansion of a dictator, right? So there started to be a big troop buildup at the end of the summer of 1990. And there began to be lots, and in the fall of 1990, you watch the news every night, more and more active duty troops are being shipped over there. So it became clear, we were talking a lot about this in our reserve unit. It became clear that they were massing a lot of troops for a ground assault, because why would you need that many bodies on the ground, right? You don't need that many boots on the ground unless you intend to go in with a massive force. So it became, so I think the official doctrine of the government at the time was that they were calling it Operation Desert Shield, and it was basically to protect Saudi Arabia from further expansion, from Iraq. So, they were massing the troops at the border and getting ready, and there were some clandestine operations, I think, happening in Iraq and in Kuwait, behind the lines, if you were. But what became obvious to me was that it was only a matter of time before you don't bring 1 million troops to the desert without using them. So it became clear to me that they weren't there for a defensive purpose; they were there for an offensive purpose. So sure enough, we got put on alert, and our unit was a civil affairs unit, and the Army didn't have a lot of active duty civil affairs assets, so they had to rely on their Army Reserve components, who also did civil affairs. So we were one of those units. So we got the alert. We got a call from our commander, and he said, it looks like there's a possibility we might be activated. You need to, check your phone every day. And this is before cell phones, mind you, and before the internet. So he said, you need to check your messages every day and make sure that you know what's going on. And sure enough, I think it was on January 2nd, we got a call